What's going on, everyone? It's LFC Transfer Room with another sort of daily download of the LFC Transfer Room, Mel. And, today we're going to talk about a couple of things. Another South American, Musiala. Oshimen's come back again. I think, this time they're saying it's serious. And maybe we should have gone for a left centre-back and someone that could play left-back because Costas' performance was a little bit indifferent, and we've been linked with another left-back today. So we're going to cover all that today, and to help me do it, I've got Naim and I've got Tom. Naim, how are you, sir?
Good. Ready to get into things. Seems like a pretty interesting line of topics. Happy to welcome Tom as well onto the first stream, I think.
Yeah, Tom, have you got your song ready?
No, I don't know, unfortunately. I'm very happy.
Freestyle rap?
No, not today. Very happy to be here, and looking forward to the stream. Yeah.
News, good to see you in the chat, mate. And we're going to start. I want to start by looking at the main sort of story, which is the price for Inacio is, if we wanted to get him this season, is the full release clause. Now, Robertson obviously started the season quite well, in my opinion. I think he started the season quite well, and then now he's injured, and for the next 10 weeks, we've got Costas. And Costas, I think it's fair to say, had an indifferent game against Everton. Some things were good, some things were bad, and I would refer to it as indifferent. So, Ignacio was someone we could have been linked with, left centre-back, could play sort of left-back. Hincape was another player that we were linked with. Naim, do you think paying £52 million for a left centre-back in January is on the agenda? Because Ebola are saying that we're considering it. Obviously, United are there, but if we want him, we've got to pay the full £52 million. Do you think? What are your thoughts?
Well, obviously, a sore area for us. A lot of questions about how we're going to fill in left centre-back, especially with Virgil coming up on sort of the ages. It might be either a decline or retirement in the future for him. Maybe not right now, but still. And also after him, there is no understudy. So it's a very desirable place to be bringing in players. And as we saw there, the price in every area of the market is going up astronomically. People like City's new signing, Vardiol, is not exactly helping that in that department, especially he's very, well, you could say similar player, but let's sort of just leave it at left back, left centre back. It's I would pay 52 million, to be honest with you, because if you imagine, previously his release clause was lower than that, right? It was they renegotiated his contract to better reflect his value. And back then, people were saying that, it'd be a robbery to pry him away from Lisbon for that price. And it's inevitable that it would go up. If he didn't have a release clause, it would be, around what the price we're paying now, €60 million, €70 million sort of thing, especially with how the market's going. So I would say at that price, for someone of his caliber, I'd be happy to pay it, especially considering he's 21, 22 now. A lot of development to be had there. And they're going to want to rinse us no matter what, considering the need for players in that area. And it's a release clause, so we may as well, get Schmatke on the job because he seems to be quite good at those.
He loves to activate a release clause.
He loves it. He's great at it. Stick to what he knows.
Now, Tom, Joe Gomez, when he's played at left centre-back, has played very well. Obviously, Costas is a reserve left-back, and would we need to ship him out before we bring anyone in, or do you just think, there's a release clause, get it done, get him in, get him integrated? Yes, it's a shame he can't play till January, and we probably should have done it in the summer because we've left ourselves a bit open here.
Yeah, for me, 50 mil, it's a good price, to be honest, considering when you look at the prices going around. Obviously, you mentioned his age there. He's only 22, so obviously for a centre-back as well, that's very young. Loads of development to come there. And when you look around the league as well, every other team really has got a left-footed centre-back, don't they? When you look at it, they've got Vardiol and Ake for City. You've got Botman for Newcastle, Lissandro Martinez United. You got that Van der Ven for Tottenham as well. So I think it's an area we are sort of lacking in a bit, really. So yeah, I'd be all for it, to be fair. Yeah.
No, Naim, there's part of me that believes rightly or wrongly, Virgil van Dijk can do a Thiago Silva and play till he's 39 years old and still waltz around controlling a game however he wishes. But if you're going to have an older type centre-back, you need a young, fast, quick. And Konate's rapid. Gomez is rapid. Do we actually need a left centre-back? And let us know what you think in the chat as well. Tell us, is Inacio the type of player that we need, or do we need an actual left-back? And Naeem, I'll probably ask you that. Do we need a Costas replacement, or do we need a left centre-back?
I don't have many problems with Costas at all. I think, especially going forward, he's a credit to the team. His left foot is something special at times, and he can mimic the sort of role that Andy Robertson plays. I'd say, obviously, he probably couldn't lace Robertson's boots, to be honest with you, because going forward and going backwards, Robertson is a delight to watch. But it's he's a great backup, and I think he's proved himself in the squad. Whether we need a left back specifically, I'm on the fence, because obviously Robertson is a very robust player, not injured very often. Costas, I think, is a great understudy. So whether we need someone specifically in that role, questionable. Whether we could have, sort of more dynamism across the back line so that people can move into there, I'd like to see it. So, when you say do we need a left centre back as well, with Van Dijk playing until he's, Thiago Silva's age, I think, we do have the pacey right centre back or pacey options like Konate in the background, but I think it would be good to just have the constant reassurance that if something went wrong, you have someone who naturally fits into that area instead of having to gamble on someone like Gomez.
I'm going to pick you up on Gomez is a gamble. I mean, this is a 26-year-old England international, surely spending £50 million on a player that's never been proven in the Premier League is just as much, if not more, of a gamble.
Well, okay, so when I say gamble, I don't mean gamble entirely. So I would keep Gomez. There's been talk of like flogging him. I don't agree with that. I think he's great considering he can play technically across the entire back line. Started at left back, can play right back, and has played in both the centre back positions. I really like him as a player, even if he has off days. But I mean, game to game, when you put him in, you sort of know there's going to be a flip of a coin whether he's going to make a bad mistake, because he could pull out Real Madrid 5-2 performance where he's, fouling everyone over the pitch, gives away 3 goals, or he could pull out Aston Villa 3-0 and looks like Virgil van Dijk himself. So gamble in the long run, I think that Gomez is an assured player in the squad. Game to game, I'd like to have someone come in who I could rely on when I put them on the pitch, sort of thing.
Now, Tom, I like to think of this as a bit of a Harry Kane conundrum. Trying to sign a backup for Harry Kane when he was at Spurs was next to impossible, because nobody wants to come in knowing you're never going to play because you're behind the captain and the best defender in the Premier League. How do you convince a player like Inacio, who could be there to replace the midget at Manchester United, or he could be there to go to Newcastle, or someone like Hincapié, who's playing in the Champions League for Bayer Leverkusen under Xabi Alonso and developing at a rapid pace? How do you convince a player like that to just join us and sit on the bench?
Well, I think, to be fair, if we're paying that amount of money, I think he's going to be playing, isn't he? Because we know MSG, they're not like...
You dropping Verge?
Well, I think he'd take Konate's place if we were to sign him. And it all depends really as well, what we're thinking with this new formation, because obviously the back end of last year, it was quite obvious that it was a back three and sort of Trent was inverting. And before that, it was obviously a flat back four. But this season, I think you kind of seen a bit of kind of both in a way. It's not been I don't think it's been as obvious this year that it's like a back three. I think you saw on Saturday, I think Costas was sort of playing a more orthodox left back, really, wasn't he? I don't think you could say he was playing as a left centre back. So I think that's a big consideration. Obviously, what is the setup going forward? Because obviously, if you're going to shell out, 50 mil, you got to be convinced that that's the setup you're going to go with.
Yeah, and Paul, who's joining us tomorrow, by the way, debut Paul, me and you again tomorrow. I'm just giving people debuts left, right, and centre here, but yeah. Then he's right. When Trent inverted, Robbo stayed back, and we created almost a back three. Now, Trent went a lot further forward than I anticipated. He was almost in the 10 position at times when we were playing out from the back. But is there something, even if, let's just ignore a replacement for now, let's ignore Inacio. is there something about playing Gomez there instead of Costas so that you've got that rapid defensive structure? Because Gomez can go forward okay. Yes, he doesn't have a left foot, but he can go forward okay. So is there something in, if we're thinking about this 3 at the back thing, then maybe it's time to play Gomez for a couple of games and actually see if this could work.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a go. But I think it's important to remember as well. Obviously, Costas, he's barely played, has he, for God knows how long. So I know obviously he was rusty in the game of the weekend, some dodgy passes and stuff. But I think that's got to be expected. Really, the lad's not played really, has he? So I think you give him this run of games, see how he gets along. Obviously, we've got quite a favourable run of fixtures as well coming up, haven't we? So obviously that allows us to bomb forward a little bit more as well. So I'd say give him this run of games, see how he's sort of looking, and then probably go from there. Yeah.
Now, one of the things, I swear I saw it in this. I'm just going to find the comment. And if you are new here, please subscribe to the channel. It's an obviously fan channel for fans, made for fans, by fans. So please subscribe to the channel. We're here. We're live every day at 7:30. Name and chat. So I want everyone in the chat to also give us an answer to this. The question is, you are 50 million. Who are you going for? Because I've not seen a lot of them. So which one would you go for, Name?
It's a good question, to be fair. I probably... I mean, look, considering... You have to weigh up whether they would actually be sold at those prices, but let's assume that they would be sold for in and around that money, and you could choose one. Because obviously the release clause makes it more favourable for us that we would definitely get them at that price instead of having to go through some negotiations. But if I could get Hincapié, I would get Hincapié, I think. Because playing under Xabi, their entire sort of play, especially when I was watching the Bayern game, it was sort of this great. He didn't play in it, obviously, but the style of play they have is this mesmerizing, direct way of attacking, and it was end to end the entire game because they sort of matched Bayern stride for stride for that. And they're both around the same age. I think it's 21 for Hincapié, Inacio for 22. But I would personally go with Hincapié. I think he might be sort of more left back than he is left centre back at times. And I think he might be the smaller player, but I'd have to check it on that. But I just think he would suit the squad more, if you know what I mean. Also, he plays in a harder league. So,
Tom, what about for you? I mean, I'm another South American player for me. It's Ecuador, isn't it? So another South American player for me. Another long flights every time we kick off at 12:30. Chat are going Hincapié. Can I convince you Ignacio's a better option? Is it because he's been linked to United? We're stay away from that.
I'll tend to agree. To be honest, like you said, to be fair, I've not seen a great deal of either of them, but I think just the fact that Hincapié has played at a higher level, obviously, the Bundesliga is a quite significantly better league than the Liga NOS, and obviously playing under the guidance of Alonso as well, one of the best up-and-coming managers. I think I'd probably go at Jim, but I'd take either of them in a heartbeat, to be honest.
And is another player for us to moan about after the internationals. Always. If we're kicking off, I'm not going to rant about it again. Last time me and Name were on the stream, I had a massive rant about it, I think, about 12:30 kickoffs. And I'm not going to. But rock, paper, scissors, Paul Lindo says about the two. We're going to move on because one of the things we need is more players from South America. And according to Gazzetta, LFC are interested in Boca Juniors defensive midfielder Ezequiel Fernandez, 21, Argentinian, another Argentinian player to play alongside an actual defensive midfielder. Now, I don't know much about the players. I don't watch much Boca Juniors, but I know we got Helior in the chat, so I'm pretty confident we're about to see some stats. What are you thinking now? Do you think it's good? Another South American in midfield?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't really. Obviously, I don't watch all that many Boca Junior games. I remember this guy specifically, his name popping up several times, because I think it was an account LFC Analysis on Twitter, and I'm not sure if anyone's ever seen his account before. He does a fair few sort of op-eds, let's say, about different players, breaks them down to the statistical side of things. And I think he was always a big proponent of specifically Ezequiel Fernandez, because it was like 5 or 7 million. And he looked like a very good up-and-coming like South American player that we could pick straight out of one of those leagues, like we don't usually do, for around that price, a bit like in a Brighton sort of situation, and watch him develop. And I remember him coming across as quite a promising player. So, I mean, around that price point, considering he's, picking players right out of South America is quite a cheap option, and it's sort of low risk in terms of the finances of the club. I'd love to see us take a risk on someone like that if the whole Andre thing falls through, or even alongside it. Who knows? It's bottom line, I think it would be a good decision to start moving towards that kind of business, and I think he could be a good start for that.
Now, Tom, I've got some stats for you. Get you ready so that you can... And it seems like this Ezequiel Fernandez fits pretty much most LFC we've been linked with type players. So, progressive carries, top 8%. Successful take-ons, top 3%. Touches in the opposing penalty area, top 6%. Progressive pass receptions, top 5%. Blocks, top 5%. So he seems to be a good distributor, but his defensive stats, for a defensive midfielder, tackles bottom 12%, tackles won bottom 18%, but tackles in the attacking third, top 30%. So again, it seems like he's probably more an 8 by these stats than I would say a 6, but it doesn't look like we're trying to play an out-and-out 8, and he's at 21, so he could develop into anything. 5'7.5", so not the biggest player in the world, but
for me, I'm on the stance this that I'd rather just us get the finished article in this position, because I think when you look at the midfield department now, you got obviously Bajcetic, Elliott, Jones, Szoboszlai, McAllister. Like, you got so much youth in there. I think for me, this position, obviously it's kind of the missing piece of the jigsaw, really, isn't it? I'd rather just go for the finished article. I know, like, obviously Bayern were linked with Joao Paulinho, but I know a lot of people aren't really too keen on that. But for me, I think that'd be perfect. Obviously, just a destroyer. Like, the amount of tackles he made last season, he was top by quite a distance, I think. So for me, I'd love to see that. I think obviously Bayern were going for about 50, 60 million, weren't they? So I know he's 28, but for me, I think he's still got 4 or 5 years, top years left in him at that age bracket. So I'd be all over that one personally. I think obviously when you got the likes of Szoboszlai and McAllister as well, it was so good on the ball. You don't really need someone to be as good in possession. You can sort of just win the ball back, just give it to them and let them sort of do the thing. So, and obviously McAllister as well. Like, we haven't seen the best of him, obviously, because he's not been playing in his right position. So I think that'd obviously allow him to flourish too. So yeah, like I said, I'd be on the stance of I'd rather see the finished article type rather than another sort of gamble in a way.
Yeah, I kind of get it, and I think for me, I'd probably want to see Andre. If we were going to get another South American player, I'd probably want to see Andre in there who can play that 6'8". I know he's come from a 9 all the way back to a 6, but I would rather have that type of player and then get a European player to sort of split the role, because what I'd be very conscious of, if you've got an Asian player and 2 South American players playing sort of defensive midfielder, every international break he's sending them for 12, 15-hour flights and then expecting them to come back and hit the ground running. And it's always been a bit of an issue for us, mainly because of the 12 o'clock kickoffs, but that's the point. So, yeah, interesting player, but I don't necessarily think it's for us. But I am with Nahum. I'd like to see us take a risk on some of these cheaper players and bring them in and see if they blend into the squad or not. Right, so next story, and this one bugs me because I don't see it, but the links are very, very strong with it. And Charlie keeps saying the links are ridiculously strong with it, which is the Victor Oshimen, the very real and a very active pursuit of Liverpool for him. So according to Napoli's official local Radio Kiss Kiss, which is funny, LFC interest in Victor Oshimen is real, and they are particularly active on the pursuit of the player. Tom, can you see why we would need an out-and-out striker when we've got Núñez? Are we going to change formation? You've got Gakpo, and he's like the false nine version. Can you see any reason why we would need Victor Oshimen?
I mean, I'm never against the signing world-class players, but for me, I just cannot see a world where this happens. Obviously, got Núñez, Gakpo, Jota. They all sort of offer something a bit different. Got the quantity and the quality there for me. So, I mean, like I said, I would certainly wouldn't be against it, but I definitely don't think it's one of the priorities at all for us right now.
What a few names you think? Do you know what? Let's get rid of. Let's move Gakpo to the left. Let's move Núñez to the right. Let's put Victor in the middle. Let's have no. When Salah goes, let's just have a front two even. Let's move Diaz back to right mid. Let's have Trent as right mid. Let's bring in a right back. Let's go to a classic 4-4-2. Do you think there's a way you could get both of them in the squad?
Well, like you say, with the very real possibility of Salah being moved on from the squad in the near future, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about bringing in new attackers right now. Because I've said it time and time again, it seems as it stands right now, we have one of, if not the best, attacking depth in the league. Like in pretty much every position, the interchangeability and sort of like ability of those players is astounding. Right now, it'd be hard to believe that Osimhen is being pursued by Liverpool. Maybe, like you say, if Salah was gone, or maybe if they have immediate plans for Salah to just move on in the summer, you can see that the formation might change. Players might change positions based on that. Like you say, Núñez over to the right, possibly Gakpo over to the left, and things like this. I'd be surprised if they moved for him. I can see a world where he gets into the squad if we got him, like just the formation changes. But I agree, we should not be splashing 100 million on him. I don't know if there's a contract situation I'm not aware of, whether it's something they have to do, and we should go in for him. But it's right now, I don't see the need for it at all.
And as Charlie says here, Osimhen is a bad investment. We already have a youth front line with Núñez being an extremely exciting prospect. Gakpo's 24, the oldest 24-year-old Klopp's ever seen. Jota, who just has a knack of scoring. Diaz, and then we've got players like Duck. It's about when you think about those attackers, for me, it's not about another out-and-out scorer. It's about a creator. It's for someone to allow those to score more goals, because that's what Salah started doing this year. Started creating opportunities for the other players. So for you, do you think we need to just replace Salah's goals, or do you think we need to create a creator to sort of create opportunities for these other players to get goals?
For me, I'd say we're fine in the creativity department now. Obviously, you got Trent, one of the best creators in the world, but now we've obviously added subbers like McAllister to that, who obviously so we're going forward, got a great eye for a pass. So for me, I think in the offensive department we're absolutely fine, to be honest. Yeah, I wouldn't be breaking the bank for him. I think it's important to remember as well, since we've had Núñez, he hasn't really had a proper run in the team, has he? Like, I know he's been here nearly 18 months now, but has he had a run of games where he started like 10 games in a row? I don't think he has. So I think it's important that we give him the chance to be a success here, because at the moment he's still sort of in and out of the team, isn't he? So, and he's shown, I think this season he's made a lot of improvements in his game. He looks a lot more mature, he's making the right decisions when he gets into the attacking areas. So yeah, for me, I'd like to see Núñez get a proper run in the team and see what he can do. Yeah.
Screams of a Chelsea player to me, Victor Oshimen. Like that's the type of club that would get him, or a PSG, or a, if Real are going for Mbappe, then it's that type of club who pays the 500k a week, 600k a week for the next 20 years type player, more than it would be a Liverpool type signing. It just doesn't feel like a Liverpool signing to me, and I don't know why. What about you?
I mean, I would agree that it is a very Chelsea signing, in and of the sense that it's 140 million they were asking for last year for him, or something in the realm of that. That is, it's just very unlikely for that to happen at full price. I am reading here that his contract expires in 2025, I think it is. So it would be last year, the contract kind of thing. If we were going to go for him, maybe that would force a lower sale. But like you say, the wage thing is going to still be ever present. And whether we're able to break the bank on someone we were barely willing to negotiate with Salah, I don't see it happening. But you're right. I don't think he feels like a Liverpool signing either. It's there is that je ne sais quoi about when you bring someone to Liverpool, and you know, whether it's because maybe he doesn't smile enough or something. But when I watch him play or I see him in the media, I don't think that he could be a Liverpool player one day. Maybe he's not good looking enough. I don't know. But yeah, I agree. He doesn't feel like a Liverpool signing.
Charlie will tell you to replace Salah, you just need to sign Jared Bowen. He is all over that, aren't you, Charlie? Like Jared Bowen for right wing. But moving to a player who probably does feel like a little bit more like a potential Liverpool player, but now we're being told that, according to Plettenberg, that LFC are not a serious option for them, which is Jamal Musiala. With the current crop of players, he says that he's not considering leaving the club. They've not been great recently, but 20 years old, he's now looking at that sort of next step. Now, Tom, is he going to go straight from Bayern to a Real to the big money? Is he going to stay at Bayern, or is he going to work for the best German manager in world football and potentially come to a club like Liverpool? If we're going to spend 100 million on Caicedo, why not throw 100 million at Musiala and see if we get any progress, see if we can get him sort of playing that right wing type position?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be all for this. Obviously, one of the most exciting young players in the world. Obviously, he's at one of the biggest clubs in the world at the moment. Obviously, German international. You wouldn't really think he'd be looking to move on at this stage of his career. Obviously, he's already just sort of breaking out as one of the world's best. So, for me, I couldn't see it happening. But I mean, I'd be all for it. Like,
I mean, it's the classic name, isn't it? They're going to link us to any player whose contract is up for renewal and can play anywhere near the right-hand side of the pitch for the remainder of the season and all of the summer. It's a bit like any midfielder who had any form of contract discussion was linked immediately to Liverpool. Can you say, Plettenberg is saying, no, last week we were hearing from a different sort, I think it was FC Bayern, that it was a yes. But a lot of the time, if a player's good enough for Bayern, they end up staying at Bayern, don't they?
I mean, I don't think he'll leave, first of all. I do believe that that's sort of where his career's stayed. Like, for now, that's where the career's moving on from. I don't think he'll be moving away imminently, at least, unless there's a massive offer on the table, of course. But I wouldn't want it to go ahead anyway. Like, I wouldn't want Musiala, quite frankly. He's a great player, but it's very much like we've bought Gravenberch off them because he doesn't fit into their squad, because he's not a 6 like Joshua Kimmich is, or you know, even Goretzka can play that better than him, and he's not a better 10 than Musiala, so he doesn't fit into their 4-2-3-1. So he's come to us, and he seems to be a much more assured left-sided number 8. If we bought Musiala in, isn't there the same problem where we don't play with a devout a number 10, and yeah, you can move him out onto the wings, but wouldn't it be a waste of his talent, sort of his creative, dynamic sort of bombarding talent of going forward, when we're moving him into a system where we've got 2 8s and a DM, and it's just like, the question is, where would he play, over who, and would he be better suited somewhere else, especially for that money? I don't think there's any point bringing him in, especially we tried it with sort of Fabio Carvalho, who I still think needs a fair shake in the squad, but he's more suited to that number 10 role, and then we're saturated for left wingers. So bringing someone like that in, Klopp sort of openly said, and like Fabio Carvalho said, they didn't really have much communication. He didn't really get into the squad, and you'd hate to see that happen to a player who cost A, over €100 million, B, that much talent behind him. So he's more suited to somewhere that plays a 10. But equally, if they've got the money, sure.
Now, Charlie makes a really good point here, though, Tom, which is we would benefit from a Bernardo Silva type player who can play anywhere in midfield, can transition to the wing, can switch positions. Because when you look at our attack, when you look at Trent now coming in, there's a lot more fluidity to our attacks. There's a lot more fluidity to how we're trying to think. So that type of intelligent player who can just spot where the gap is and make the run to get it. Do you think we've got that in Szoboszlai, or do you think we need that type of cultured space-finding midfielder, which may be Fabio Carvalho, maybe Harvey Elliott in future? But we probably, this is Liverpool, this is top 1% in world football. We probably need a player now. Do you think that's a gap that we've got?
I wouldn't say so, to be honest. No, I think obviously that type of player, I think it's very hard to find, really. Like Bernardo Silva, one of the best players in the world. Like, it's quite hard to find someone who's got the qualities who can play centrally and out wide. You've got to tick a lot of boxes to do that. But I think Szoboszlai can do that as well. So for me, it definitely wouldn't be a priority. But I think someone who's, just to mention, I think someone who's really stood out to me this season who's been playing out wide is Pedro Neto. I think he's been absolutely outstanding this season. So I think if you talk about maybe like
you and Paul are going to get on, are you? Look at that. Neto is better than Bowen.
I mean, I think he's only 23 years old. I think whenever I've watched him this season, he's just been absolutely outstanding. The way he carries the ball, his intelligence, like I said, only 23 years old. So for me, I think he could play like a number 10 sort of position as well. I think he's got that intelligence. He's got the dribbling, passing. He can shoot as well. So for me, you think he'd be tough for me? Want to be tough for me transfer this for next season? I think he's been absolutely brilliant, and I think Klopp's got such a good track record with players who are about to sort of explode, and I think Pedro Neto sort of falls into that category. So yeah, that'd be definitely a player I'd be keeping an eye on.
Has he been out injured for a while? Is he just sort of on the way back from a serious injury or something?
Yeah, he had a really serious injury. I think he came back towards the end of last season. So this is kind of his first few games sort of back in the fold. And I think, just been absolutely, just like I said, he just impressed me so much every time I've watched him this year. So yeah, I'd love to see that.
Well, we're going to sort of move on to our final story. And if you have got any questions for the team, please put them in chat. Obviously, we'll get to your questions and we'll go through bits and pieces as you go. And we're kind of moving on to this type of, okay, well, yeah, if you get Osimhen, you've got no right solution, so maybe you twist it, stuff like that. So Salah is Stan Chart Player of the Month from Liverpool Football Club name. He offers everything, doesn't he? He offers the assists, the chance creation, the finishing. In terms of what you would need to replace something like that, which hopefully we don't need to do for at least 2 more years, what would you go for first? Do you go for the chance creation, or do you go for the finishing now?
I think we've got the finishing in the squad, and there's an argument to be made there, and I'm not going to sit here and say we don't need to replace Salah. There needs to be some sort of, there needs to be attacking output back into the squad once he goes out. But I think we've already started moving that around the squad. We're sort of diversifying. So sort of, if you think about it, gone are the days where you have really industrious, hard-working midfielders, but not necessarily so technically gifted, because now we've got people like McAllister and Szoboszlai who offer a new avenue of creation. And then we have some natural-born finishers, like I think Jota's probably the most accomplished finisher in our squad, apart from Salah, obviously. And then people like Diaz are intensely creative, and Núñez is finding his feet, but could be an insane finisher one day. So I think, first of all, I'd like to see creativity go back into the right wing once he goes. I think that'd be the top priority, because for me, when you've got that many people who are sort of that technically gifted, who offer a goal threat from midfield and who offer a goal threat up front, like Núñez, raw form right now, he looks sort of, it's untapped potential, but when you see glimpses of that ability, it's electric. And having someone who can continuously feed him to nurture that skill, I think is essential. So far, before we start moving out the goal-scoring threat onto the wings again, capitalize on the players we have going through the centre as well, make sure they're getting the right service. And then, if you get someone like Jared Bowen, who, like people say, is ready-made and really willing to drop in, you can sort of allow both of those. But creativity is the priority for me right now.
What about you, Tom? Creativity, goal scoring, dynamism? We saw that on the counter attack this weekend, didn't we? We were all over it.
Yeah, I think for me, I'd probably go goal scoring, to be honest, because I think you've got so much creativity in the squad right now. Like, you got Szoboszlai and McAllister behind that front three. So, do you really need the front three themselves to be, sort of creative? I'd probably argue not really. So, for me, I'd probably edge towards the goal scorer type, to be honest.
And as Charlie puts here, does replacing Salah have to be £100 million investment, or is it better to sign a 40, £50 million money player and spend money elsewhere? And it's fair question, because creativity and what Liverpool shoot for, obviously nobody saw us going for Szoboszlai, and look at him, he could be creatively everything that we need and attack down the right. He could even play right side if needs be for certain games and stuff like that. But does it need to be another big money signing? And when would you push the button on signing the right wing? So you've got your 50 million, January's coming up. It's FSG. They're not going to give you more than 50 million. They can get a midfield rebuild for 45 million a piece. You got 50 million, Naim. Where are you spending it?
Yeah, so I agree fundamentally that it doesn't need to be an £100 million project. So I think 50 million is a realistic fee for, when you're considering what you're trying to get. And there are solid options out there for that. Fortunately, the offensive market hasn't been so touched as the midfielder or defensive market with the inflation, because obviously every midfielder in Europe is suddenly 50 million plus, and defenders are going the same way. So you can get quality attacking options for less than that, like we saw with Gakpo. The same season they signed Enzo Fernandez, we got Gakpo for him. So it's people like him you'd be looking out for. Obviously, there's the obligatory people like Bakayoko. There was Gonçalves, who was mentioned. I think that's another Lisbon player. He's more of the left-hand side, maybe moving into a 10, but equally I see his name come up a lot. Bowen obviously would be brilliant, but English tax plus already, his ability on the ball and everything there is to say about his way of playing, doubt you'd get him for that price, especially considering, West Ham aren't in need of money anytime soon with the whole Declan Rice thing and possibly Paqueta in the summer. So I think you'd put Bowen out the equation, maybe go for someone who's younger but promising, someone like Gonçalves. Like I said, if we're in need of someone who can drop into the spaces and sort of intelligently play that Bernardo Silva role, he's a good option for around that price. Bakayoko's always been mentioned, of course. But I would probably go for one of those, personally, unless there's a name I'm forgetting, of course, which I imagine there probably will be, and someone will make me look stupid in a second. But those are the quality options I've seen and thought, wow, that'd be great.
So someone's going to say Pedro Neto in chat any second now.
Not 50 million, though, is it?
You never know. Would it be more?
Actually, no, because Wolves are pretty. They'd probably go for a bit of cash, wouldn't they? They did sell Núñez, but I don't know. He is a standout player.
They're struggling, aren't they? They're still overinvested.
It's true.
And there's Kuna and there's Neto are probably the two investable, sellable assets. Tom, what about you? You got 50 million. Are you going a DM? Are you going a left centre back? Are you going a right wing backup potential creator? Are you
I think for me, it's got to be a DM. Like,
with just one decision, Tom.
Yeah. If it's any position, I'm going for a DM just because, like I said before, I think it's just the glaring hole in the team, isn't it? We're obviously playing square pegs and round holes, McAllister at the moment. When I look around the rest of the squad, I think it looks good to me. So for me, I think it's definitely got to be that defensive midfielder. And obviously, when you get into like the tighter games, well, obviously you've got City where in a few weeks you might see him get a bit exposed there. I think when we've got no proper number six, that'll be interesting to see. So yeah, for me, I think, like I said before, it's the missing piece. I'd 100% be going for a DM over anyone else right now.
I tell you what, Paul Lindo's just put a cracker of a question in which we'll cover. Other than Jude Bellingham, fair, is there any player linked to us that we missed out on that we regret correct. And please put it in the chat if you can think of anyone. But Mount, Amrabat, Casado, Lavia, Timber. I think he has been unfortunate. He got injured pretty quick.
Yeah.
Van der Ven has been good. And Thuram, who supposedly asked for crazy wages, I think has ended up stuck on 15k at thing for another season. Is there anyone that we've missed out on, really? Is there anyone you're thinking, do you know what? I wish we had.
As far as ones other than that, I'm not sure. All those options, I mean, a few of them are a bit dodgy. Obviously, Timber's leg blew up after 50 minutes on a pitch or something. That's unfortunate for him, but he would have been a good option, I guess. But yeah, I mean, a lot of those players have found, greener pastures, as it were. Maybe not Mount and Amrabat, but sort of I like how Van der Ven's playing at Spurs, and I'm happy that he is fitting in so well there. As for like players that we've missed out on, I don't think so, because we did a really good job in the window. I think it looked, for the most part, like it was going to, we're taking a nosedive. But Szoboszlai's been brilliant. McAllister we got for biggest bargain of the summer, as far as I'm concerned, with that sneaky release clause in it. Yeah, okay, you know what? LFC Transfer Room, the official account, has put me to shame there. Ugarte is one, yes, definitely. Missed out on him. That would have been brilliant.
That was me, by the way. I was just replying to Jamie Hughes.
Right, yeah, I mean, yeah, Ugarte, brilliant suggestion. We were speaking about him last time I was on. That is one player. Did I say if you gave me... if I could go back in time with a certain amount of money, I'd buy him. And it'd be no contest. He's a great player, and he'd solve a lot of the problems. But, other than that, the price limits, the fluctuation in the market, as it were, and the sort of situation that we've ended up with where we got these really promising players, there's not many players I genuinely missed out on in my mind, but Ugarte would be one of them.
It's interesting, though, isn't it, Tom? Because when we look at this list, the rage in the fan base, like we go live every day on YouTube, talking about players that we missed out on. The rage, Twitter or X, if you want to call it that. Oh man, we missed out on Amrabat. Why don't we just go get Caicedo? Love it. Apart from Van der Ven, who I think has started his career well, but wouldn't have superseded Van Dijk. Is there anyone where we're like, damn?
No, not for me. I do agree with the Van der Ven point, though. I think whenever I watched him this season alongside Romero, I think he's been brilliant. I think he looks fast, he looks athletic, he looks strong. I was when I watch him, I'm quite disappointed we never sort of went a bit harder for him. But apart from that, like you say, the list there's no one that's really been exceptional, is there at all? So, yeah, I don't think we've sort of missed anything too big, to be honest. But like I said, I think Van der Ven looks brilliant. I think he's only going to improve. So, yeah, I think that would have been a good signing.
Helio makes a really good point, and you made it twice, and I was going to come to it. And I'll stick with you, Tom. Douglas Luiz, again, a DM that we have been linked with. Great delivery, aggressive on the ball, absolutely controlled things for Villa. He was a player that we were linked with, and I think now he looks to be ready for the Premier League, doesn't he? Like, he looks fully confident in the Premier League now.
Yeah, he does look good. I think he's got a bit under the radar, to be honest. You don't really hear too much about him, do you? But obviously, he's got like about six consecutive home games. I think he's scored in, something like that now. So, yeah, he's having a really good season. And I think since Unai Emery's come, he's really sort of gone up a level. So, yeah, like I said, you don't really hear too much about him. But I think for the right price, it could definitely do worse, I think, yeah.
50 mil, January?
Yeah, I think around that 40. I wouldn't go above the 50 million mark, but I think 40, 50, I wouldn't be against it.
Naim, if he keeps his form up till Jan, bang 50 on the table.
He's a bit old, isn't he? How old is he now?
I don't think he's that old, is he?
Am I thinking of another player? Hold on, we're going to do a live lookup section. I don't know if I'm wrong here, but I could have swore he's like 28.
25.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I'm thinking of someone else then. Yeah, 25. That's right in the 23 to 26 range. I wouldn't be opposed to that whatsoever. He seems like a cracking player. I mean, it's because we were talking about it was it him and Boubacar Kamara
Yeah.
That there was a lot of interest around that duo, whether we could, get one or even both. And I think, I like it. Also, someone just said Camavinga in chat. Oh, Charlie. Yeah, I don't think
Charlie.
so. I don't think so. I think that's a bit unrealistic. I think, but I would love it. But yeah, the Douglas Luiz thing, realistic. I like it.
Douglas Luiz is not a number 6 and will not make. Is he more a 6 than McAllister? Is he a 6 in the way Klopp's trying to play 6s at the moment? This is where it all get because he plays almost a double pivot Klopp at the moment with your inverted thing. But then again, does he want to change the system? It's a difficult question, Paul, but it's a fair one to ask.
No.
So, and also another Brazilian, someone else to go to Allison's barbecue, as someone was mentioning.
True.
Thing now. Again, just going back to some of the questions from you guys. Helio's got a question. In general, he's noticed that there's been 23 red cards during the 9 rounds of Premier League so far. If this continues, there'll be over 100 red cards before the season's ending. Now, to give you some context, there was 30 red cards in the entire of last season. And I don't want to get on a massive ref rant because I know what I'll get like. And I blame Helio for this question. But Tom, have refs gone too harsh?
Oh, honestly, don't get me started on the referees, honestly. Yeah.
Not against us, really.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you think of ours. Think a few of ours this season. I think McAllister, the Jota ones, spring out particularly. Just never red cards in a million years. I think they should, where it's possible, they should try and keep 11v11. It's just ruins the game, doesn't it? Like, obviously, Tottenham Liverpool, one of the biggest games of the season. You send Jones off a very debatable red card after half an hour, kills the game. Same as the derby at the weekend. It was that one was a red card, but I think in general, they are being far too harsh. I think they like being star of the show, don't they? A bit too much for me, the referees. So, yeah, I think they're definitely being too harsh and definitely need to try and keep 11v11 where they can do.
And this is the thing for me, like, I think there's a responsibility for the referee to try and keep 11 players on the pitch. Now, the ultimate responsibility is with the players, and I completely agree. It's, the main responsibility is with the players, but the ref also has to try and manage the game and the people to try and keep 11 versus 11. I think you could have final warninged Ashley Young, and I think you could have final warning Konate, but if you sent off Ashley Young, you had to send off Konate. Naim, do you think there just needs to be a little bit of common sense? This is a contact sport. Things are never going to be, you're going to get areas like Curtis Jones where he goes to the top of the ball, someone kicks under the ball. Of course, he's going to go over. Just application of common sense and conversation and stuff like that. Or do you think makes the game more interesting? 9 versus 11, 9 versus 10. What's your thoughts on it?
I think I have a hard time seeing when it makes the game more interesting, because even if you got heart in your mouth stuff like Liverpool, Tottenham, at the end of the day, most teams revert to 2 banks of 4 and a striker. It's just everyone just drops down into this park the bus mentality, going on counter attacks. So I imagine if you gave a game or 10 games a red card, 9 out of 10 of them would finish with many less goals than it would have done if you'd let it play out naturally. So I don't see the argument for it making it more interesting. Not that that's what they're trying to do, hopefully, but that you're right. Common sense needs to be applied. There's this, sort of running over to the screen for every little thing, kind of, we're recommending a replay of that challenge from 5 minutes ago because we think it might have gone over the ball and hit him in the leg. Like, it's besides the things that we're getting stitched up with and having, think about we've contributed 4 of those 23 red cards already. You're right. It just needs to be up to the discretion of the ref as it is now, but they need to hold that sort of power in a greater balance than they do already, because although, like you say, the players need to be more aware, especially with the game going where it is, what challenge they're making, to prevent it from being this overly sort of coddled contact sport, there has to be refs with, a good head on their shoulders, where they can see a challenge and they either, quietly measure the intention of it, because obviously that's not within the rules. You can't really say he didn't intend to do a red card challenge. But if a referee can see that there was clearly no malice in the tackle and it wasn't objectively dangerous, then you don't need to be going over to the screen. You don't need to be like turning yellows into reds, giving outright reds for tackles that shouldn't be. And obviously there's far more yellow cards, I'd imagine, than there were last season, which is adding up to those reds. And a lot of that's for the time wasting rules as well. So there's a lot of factors going into it. But right now I agree that the referees have to show a bit more lenient discretion, I think, or just better discretion in general.
So a question for you both and a question for chat, just because it's just popped in my head. Should they change, if you're not going to change what constitutes a yellow card, should you change the number of yellow cards before you get a red? So in basketball, it's 5 fouls before you're off. In rugby, it's a 10-minute penalty and then you're off. So it's like almost like a double red. Should you be doing 3 yellow cards if you're going to do all these different, you haven't taken a throw in quick enough, you've not done this quick enough, you've signaled for a card, you've complained to the referee. If you're going to have such a harsh line, should you, and because it is a contact sport, should you then go, well, it's 3 yellow cards for a red? Or do we stick?
Maybe.
Tom?
I don't know, it's an interesting point, isn't it? I think there's that much confusion within the game at the moment, though, like regarding handball, etc. Like, I think you just need to probably just limit the amount of confusion at the moment. So I'd probably say no, but I would say, like I said before, they need to just stop being so harsh on like red cards, because even the derby is a prime example. Like, you see these big games now, there's no strong tackles going in anymore, is there? Do you know, like where you used to see like strong tackles going in, flying around everywhere? Now, that derby game to me, it didn't feel like a derby. It just felt like a normal game. They took the edge out of the big games for me completely. So, yeah. Definitely need to allow.
I'm getting a lot of no's in the chat. Name, not a 3 yellow card rule.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no purely because of the fact that we don't have Fabinho anymore. I'll tell you what, he would have been licking his lips at the mere thought that he could make 3 yellow card challenges in a game before he got sent off. Oh my God, it would have been brilliant. I mean, Casemiro is probably jumping at joy at the mere suggestion of it, but I think, like someone said in the chat, I think there's a deterrent there that needs to be there. And like you say, there's a lot of growing avenues of getting a red card, but it's I feel as though this is a stage that's going to get sorted out pretty quickly. There'll become very, clear thresholds that maybe aren't directly spoken about or written into law that will become part of the game and everyone will be on the same footing. Right now, this transition period's a bit crazy, but I think 3 yellow cards, as much as it would be fun, I imagine, there would be people flying around all over the show, but I don't think it's a legitimate way of controlling how many red cards there are in a season.
I just think about like the one where Trent got a yellow card in the first 5 minutes. And then just let everyone run past him for an entire game, because he couldn't make another challenge. Because if he mistimed one more challenge, he was off, even though he made 1 foul. Kind of kills games, I find, a lot of the time because of how harsh a line they've got. And then I watched England versus South Africa in the rugby, and a player called Tuilangi came into a ruck, which don't worry about that, grabbed another player by the scruff of the neck and marched him away. And the ref just pulled over both captains and went, any more from either side, the next player goes in the bin. And by that they mean the sin bin, not an actual bin. And then nobody else did it. But further on in the game, someone got snapped in half, like someone just went correct, and it was a perfectly good tackle. It was completely legal. And you've kept the passion there because the control's been kept, and the refs aren't keeping control. And if the refs aren't keeping control, do you need to think of another way to sort of keep the passion in the game? Because you're right. For me, that could have been anyone. That wasn't a Merseyside derby. And it's like, how do we fix this? Do we get external refs? Probably.
Yeah.
do we actually set a set of rules that people can follow? Because there just seems to be less and less contact in a contact sport for me, and I really enjoy the physicality of teams battling against each other.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think they're sucking the life out of the sport, to be honest. Like I said before, and like you just said, the derby, you wouldn't know it was a derby. That could have been Fulham, Brentford, could have been anyone. So, and you've got to keep that in football. It's a contact sport. That's one of the main principles of the sport. That's why one of the reasons why we love it. You see them sort of tackles going, and you think of Gerrard, for example, in a derby, be flying everywhere. You can get away with it because it's a contact sport. If you win the ball, there should be no foul. But now, you see if they're going in a certain way, even if they win the ball, they're going to get punished. So, and that's why people aren't going in for strong tackles. They're scared to make them, aren't they? So,
I remember like Liverpool, Everton, Liverpool, Man United. The first 30 minutes, both clubs got 3 yellow card challenges each before yellow cards started. And then in the second half, once the yellow cards came out, they came out for the whole rest of the game. But there was some leniency to go, we want to see what made this league famous, which is barnstorming, crashing into each other, fighting for the ball. And I think we've lost that a bit at the moment now with these new rules and what Howard Webb's doing. Liverpool fair play champions 4 years in a row, and I've got more red cards so far this season based on multiple errors. It seems if you go too harsh a line, your error rate increases.
Yeah. What's being suggested, though, with like the comment you put up, the ref should have a structure, that obviously is in place to a degree. There has been a sort of unspoken agreement that, in the first 5 minutes of a game, you don't hand out a yellow card in the same way you would in the second half. And that comes back to the discretion of the referees, because obviously they have to show at the beginning of the season all these new rules in effect so that people get the message really early on. And then maybe in the second half of the season, once people know they're there, they calm down. But that whole, chucking the ball away after being fouled by Anthony Gordon in the Newcastle game, getting a yellow card immediately in the first 5 minutes of the game, you can argue, yep, sure, that's because it's showcasing the new rule. But it's unfortunate because, like you say, Trent has to then make sure he's, playing the byline. It's a balancing act. There should be a structure, as there has been for a long time now, where if it's the opening part of a game, because you can get yellow cards for accumulation, and the argument should be is that kind of should be applied elsewhere. Accumulation should be the threshold for getting a yellow card, red card, like you say, excluding the ones that deservedly, immediately have them. But that's something that has been put into, practice for many, many years, worked for a long, long time. And obviously with the sort of way that very technical refereeing is going, it's becoming less and less so with very stringent rules on how you're meant to act. But yeah, if the officiants on the pitch and off the pitch have an agreement with each other and themselves that accumulation of softer challenges is the threshold to meet for actual disciplinary action, that makes more sense than just throwing them around. If it's got to be one of the two.
Completely agree. And on this, we're all going to get an early bath, finish a minute and a half earlier than what we normally do. And I'm going to thank Naeem. I'm going to thank Tom very much for joining us tonight. I'm going to thank everyone in the chat for joining us and sharing your opinions. And officially, LFC Transfer Room is now backing the 3 yellow card rule by nobody apart from me. This has been LFC Transfer Room. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.